also spoke about the Internet of Things and what that means. It's very prevalent within society. I understand the speaker after me will be speaking about how Samoa is trying to get into that space. The challenges for Samoa, and I suppose I don't want to just leave you being real dire. I want to sort of put out a challenge to you afterwards and tell you what's happening and what we're doing about it, okay? International trends. Smartphones are the most explosive technology ever adopted in the world. If you look at TV, it took them about 50 years to get close to 100%. In smartphones, you're going to see that basically come to fruition within less than 10 years. Okay, so the speed in which technology is being rolled out and devolved and basically consumed and used by people and become part of everyday life is actually significantly decreased because of technology. There are people in this room now, I'm not one of them, who are not old enough to realize that the iPhone is not even 10 years old. Yet, for all your life, all you ever thought about was iPhone. But iPhone actually came into market on the 29th of June, 2007. How do you like that for a start? International trends. So in May 2013, which is only 3 years ago, that was a point of inflection. That was a point whereby smart tablets, so tablets overtook PCs in the world. This is significant because, as you know from the developing world, the cost of technology is one of the bigger barriers. The other one is obviously the cost of internet. But you can't basically do anything if you actually don't physically have the device. So one of the things that happened about 3 years ago is, the number of these devices, iPads and Android tablets, actually surpassed it. I think the challenge internationally is going to be how do we get that price down to about 40, 50 US, because the price is a little bit outside. I mean, I think a lot of people seem to think that the Samsung tablets and the iPads, I think we're actually looking for technologies to get the normal person, the person who lives out, could be at Hapai in Tonga, could be up at rural Samoa in Alipata. As beautiful it is, it's still rural Samoa. It could also be at Safaka. So some of this technology has to come down to the normal person, that last 10% of our society who are the lowest of the income actually have access to technology to improve their lives. So in developing countries, and 3 years ago, that's basically when it actually took over. There was a point of inflection whereby the amount of PCs actually got outstripped, and it's even worse. That's significant now. If you look at now the new Surface tablets and stuff, people are basically turning their tablet now into their PC. The need for the PC as we traditionally needed, the desktop, clearly that's changed. There will be 3 billion users by 2020, smartphone users in the world. I think it's up to 2.4 billion now as we speak. So increasingly this disruptive technologies is entering the lives. And I think with the increase in technology and the reduction in price, increasingly a lot of people are gaining access, and I think this is a really important part of what's been going on. Where is the growth coming from? Well, Asia Pacific. I mean, clearly, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to recognize that the people in Asia have a huge appetite for data. China. In this part of the world, everyone thinks that WhatsApp and Viber is the biggest thing. In Asia, just because there's 1 billion Chinese, that WeChat's actually just as big and actually works just as well, as long as you don't mind the Chinese security services snooping on you, but that's fine. The Americans do it on Facebook as well. So international trends, key points, key takeaways for that first bit before I get into what this means for Samoa. Smartphones are changing the world. Developing nations are skipping technological steps. I remember Damon said that, and that is especially true in Samoa. I think you were referencing radio. I'm actually talking now about ICT, that, you know, those things that it took us, we had to go through a sort of a stepped approach. ICT is allowing Samoa as a developing country, Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, to actually leapfrog you know, these steps that normally take. Data use is exploding. 98% of all transit in Samoa is international, okay? So it speaks to perhaps a need to develop content within Samoa, but 98% of this stuff is actually, well, in Samoa, I'm ashamed to say 60% is actually Facebook, but you know, that's all right. That wouldn't be much different from New Zealand as well. Okay. And then, so the challenge for Samoa is how do we get the price down so that the person from Whalealupo gets the same price, the same quality of service as the person from Apia, and the same similar prices to Fiji, Suva, and you know, and our big dream is how do we have comparative prices to what you have in New Zealand, okay? Underpinning this is submarine cable. So there's obviously lots of lines. The most important line you have to look to is the one to Samoa. There's only one line that goes to Hawaii. So we have one cable, and you know, it's been a lifeblood. If not for that cable, we wouldn't have been able to make the leap that we've had so far. But you know, once you make the leap, you know, you need to go, what next? We don't want to actually stay, you know, where we are. We want to actually move ahead, okay? If you actually look at a lot of the international stats about usage in Oceania. Currently, internet penetration in Samoa is about 20%, with smartphone penetration at 22%. This was 3 years ago. The smartphone penetration in Samoa is circa 50% now. So, you know, this has basically been driven by very, very aggressive competition within Samoa. You also see it within Fiji and all markets where competition as a result of deregulation has driven the price of handsets and availability to normal people. So connecting Samoa with the future, you know, I didn't come all this way to speak to you, if not giving a plug for the guys I work for. Just a small one, it's not too bad. So where we're at, 2016, 80% of people in Samoa, I assume it would be the same for Blue Sky, are connected to data. Okay, Damon, you said you were lacking information. I'll do a trade-off with you for something, but I'm happy to share this data if it increases the body of knowledge and ask more PI researchers to actually research such an important area in our development. What else are we doing? Coda Dojo, Google it. It's really good. There's some really good material on YouTube. It's actually a dojo in the sense that it's a training facility for karate, but this is for coders, code cutters. An area that PI people are very, very actually non-existent in. So what we're doing in Samoa is the schools, the primary schools aren't teaching any basic coding and stuff. We've brought in some volunteers and got a lot of great material off the internet, and that's one of the beauty of the internet is you could be in Samoa, but if you had big and lofty aspirations, you need not actually be restrained by those. So Coda Dojo is a thing we're actually putting in place whereby we're training kids between 5 and 12 years old how to do some basic coding and to, I suppose, instill with them that coding is actually fun. Working in this space is not, life is not about playing PlayStation. You can actually be the guy that actually, develops the game, which sounds a lot better. So, the regulators are supporting what we're doing. It's a pathway for these young people, but clearly it's not enough. I think we've recently had the elections, as Dr. Fruean spoke about. The new ICT minister, Masanga Rico, is very progressive in this area. He's made it very clear that his vision for Samoa is to almost be a smart hub, so to speak. It's a very, very ambitious goal. However, I think the people within this room can share in the minister's vision for Samoa. We can, I think we can start putting together steps of how do we take this very, very simple. It's 20 kids, okay? It's not that much. How do we take this out to the villages and start to make sure that people out at for school, people out at I suppose Natsai people out in any place within Samoa has access to training. Because tablets are getting cheaper, their ability to actually roll these out in a cost-effective method is actually becoming a positive move towards these types of initiatives. Scholarships. We're basically partnered up with the National University of Samoa and the University of South Pacific in Samoa, giving scholarships to, I suppose, high achievers who may not have the income to be able to go to school. So we've got a particular focus in technology, and it's an area that we want to continue to promote and actually partner with a lot of other corporates, because it's too important an area for us to not invest in our people. This is another huge initiative. This one's called the Tui Samoa Cable. It's a public-private partnership in Samoa, first of its kind, funded by World Bank, ADB, and DFAT, Australian government. I noticed New Zealand government officials are here. You might be able to help us on the Coda Dojo on the education side. The Australians can help us pay for the fiber, but in terms of developing Samoans, you get more kudos for the next Samoan Bill Gates than the Australians will get for giving us cheap internet. One of the highlights of this cable system is that it's, as I said, it's a public-private partnership. The government has basically contributed the asset and created this private company called Samoa Submarine Cable. And for the first time, it's included competitors, Blue Sky, ourselves, Digicel, CSL, and institutional investors of government, National Provident Fund, UTOS, and Samoa Life Insurance. And I was speaking to a lawyer in Samoa when I went to sign some documents for this. Lawyers are very intelligent people, most of them. This guy was a very intelligent guy, to be honest. And I explained it as I'm explaining to you guys, that this is a partnership of Blue Sky, us, and CSL, and also the government. And I was pretty excited about it. And he says, "But aren't you guys just creating a cartel? That you guys just, you just created this monopoly where you're gonna, extort high rent from people." The thing about this model, and one of the things that even the World Bank, and anyone who's done any work with the World Bank realizes that if it takes 3 months for a normal person to do it, expect it to take 9 months for the World Bank to come to a decision. This project in particular has a particular model which says that once the equity investors achieve a 10% return in commercial terms, and I think Damon also, he's getting really correct on a lot of his research on top of the margins that are made in telco would be considered, very, very low. However, because the whole objective of this cable is to reduce the price of internet, all the things what I told you before, which is holding back our growth. So we've all partnered up together and decided to work together to ensure that the price of internet actually reduces. So that cable will connect Polo to Savai. So any people out there from the Big Island? Give yourself a hand. Then it goes back. So this stuff went like that. It connects Wallace and Futuna. Bonjour. It connects Vanua level in Fiji. So, you know, in the Pacific, we talk about, you know, the brotherhood of Pacific Islands and, you know, how we should all work together. And a lot of it's, to be honest, it's a lot of lip service. This cable is not. This cable basically has said, we are going to partner with Wallace and Fortuna. Why? Because if we partner with them, we save them basically 50%, all right? For Wallace and Fortuna to complete that project, it's a 30 million project. By partnering with Samoa, the price reduces to 16 million, okay? Our brothers in Fiji, and you know, Fiji's quite a big economy, they've got lots of money, but we've actually decided to offer to the Fijian government to connect Vanua level. It's actually the population of Vanua level, or Savo, which is the capital, is the size of Tonga, okay? So it's, the population's decent, and we're actually not making any money on this thing, you know, as amazing as that sounds. The purpose being that I think as true citizens of the Pacific, that Tui Samoa Cable and all its partners, and as Samoans and Polynesians, we actually really need to make these things happen for the people of Fiji, Wallace and Fortuna, and in the next case, Fiji. Just a few pictures there. People like pictures. You guys had nice pictures, right? Sorry, I don't have good social media. That project will be delivered in August next year, just in time for the whole Pacific Leaders meeting in Samoa. Okay, so 3.5 billion users. These are some international trends. As you can see on inflection point 1, so in 2016 is when the number of 3G users in the world surpassed 2G. So in the year 2018, there'll be another inflection point. That's when 4G basically surpasses 2G. So people are turning off their 2G networks because the need for data. This is a great photo, okay? In 2005, Pope Benedict. In 2013, everyone with their smartphones. So it's changing whether we like it or not. This is where we are now. This is 4G. This is basically out there in the market being tested. Speeds up to 1 gig. And then this is basically where we're heading. By 2020, this is the type of device you're going to be having on your phone. 10 gigabytes of speed. It's crazy. Can you just imagine Netflix on your mobile doing your university lecture? Okay, where to now? In addition to the international bandwidth increases in Samoa, the government has invested with the national broadband, similar to what you guys have done here in New Zealand. And it's still work in progress. There's a lot of regulation, and I think I agree a lot of things Damon referred to. Is as a country that's sort of, we're trying to make these huge leaps. Sometimes we're tripping over ourselves, and this is a challenge for us, is regulation, so that new entrants get on that theoretical level playing field. That infrastructure owners are forced to actually, through regulation, to share their infrastructure for the benefit of the customers. The other areas of improvement is obviously the reduction in smartphones, about 100 tala, so like 60 New Zealand bucks. That's okay. It's cheaper to buy a handset in Samoa than it is to buy it from the warehouse. I don't know, I can't work it out. Low internet penetration by Samoan submarine cable. I suppose the vision is to drive the price of internet down in Samoa. And as other speakers have alluded to, this has the effect of driving GDP for the economy, increasing literacy, and basically ensuring we have a better future for Samoa. Lastly, I'm available afterwards if you guys have some questions. I'm happy to talk to you. But I want to wish the rest of the speakers all the best, and we hope you have a great conference. Bye for time.